Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, A Theory of Nothing. I am the host, Scott Schaefer. Today is Thursday the 30th, I believe, of May. And, I've been too busy to really kind of splurge around on the internet and see what's going on, and as far as Mandela changes in the physical space around us, it's getting more difficult at times to determine what has got true merit base of being a Mandela Effect, and unfortunately what may become a projected time lapse. By that, what I mean is we pass by things every day, and some things are just off corner of your eye, and all of a sudden it's still off corner of your eye, but one day within a short time span it stands out like a sore thumb. Typically construction-based or buildings, signage on buildings, and some of that stuff can go up very quickly, and some things take longer time. So back and forth a little bit on that one, on some of the new construction, because there's so much out here in Arizona, in the Phoenix area, with new construction going on, that it's insanity. They are really, really bolstering the infrastructure. There's vertical crane towers up all over the entire valley, from all the way out in the Gilbert Arena where I live to Central Phoenix where I work. I travel 100 miles round trip every day, just getting back and forth to work. But a couple of weird things have been happening lately. The continuation of items dematerializing, and sometimes rematerializing in the same spot or in odd spots, which are typically, if it rematerializes in an open spot, it's where you left it. You left it in like a really, really wide open space. No one's touched it, no one's messed with it. Maybe an hour later, 2 hours later, it rematerializes. So a question for me is, I was thinking to myself, trying to use my thinking like a holographic thought process, to where the item is always there, the particles for that item are always there. But then when my observational focus turns away from the object, and it appears that the item has disappeared or the object has disappeared, I go to where I think it is, and I'm like, wow, it's not there, and I start looking around. So what I started to do, again, thinking back to the holographic universe, was physically putting my hand into the space where the object was at. So I'm altering the particles in the atmosphere in and of the space where the item was at. Now again, this only works in a truly single unitized universe, with it being holographic, not being a multiverse that's holographic. Right? So in a multiverse scenario, I believe a lot of things, right? This is a simulated holographic reality. But I believe there are many, 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 many levels of that. I don't believe it, I don't think of it from a digital simulation perspective. I think that everything is a very, very physical space. Now, of course, the mind can be tricked into that. We don't yet possess the capability to do it in real time, thinking of it from a video game perspective, right? That you can be so immersed in a game that it feels 100% undistinguishable to real life. Of course, Musk, alludes to, some days you won't be able to tell the difference. But you got to get to doing implants and things like that. So now, could we all be plugged into a machine, Matrix style, and this whole thing being completely holographic and not real? sure, if our mind tells us something is real, then it is real. And partly what's alluding to that thought process too is the manifestation of items. Now, just today, my wife and I were planning a trip up north on our motorcycle, what they call a Two Broke for Sturgis rally up north, just south of Flagstaff. And it's a motorcycle rally where a bunch of bikers, 18 and older, get together, and it's like a micro Sturgis rally here in Arizona. It's kind of a cool little neat idea. There's vendors, there's different things to do. It's a little, you camp out for a couple of days in a tent. They have some portable shower, coin showers or something like that you can use, all sorts of different stuff. And it goes to Abate, Arizona, which is a charity organization. Well, it's Abate National, but Abate, Arizona is the one who hosts the one here in town. And all proceeds go to them for their organization, which they provide insurance discount assistance for motorcyclists and help get in front of legislation with sticking by the motorcyclist laws and things like that. But outside of that, we were talking about, my wife's like, well, let's go do the camping thing. I'm like, well, let's see if there's a lodge available because we don't own a tent, right? We've never bought one as a couple. Like I had some with my ex-wife, or I had one with my ex-wife, but her and I together, my current wife and I, have been together forever. I mean, been together 17 years, and we've never bought a tent. We talked about it on a couple occasions here and there, but we never actually got around to spending the money to buy one. So I was like, well, look at the lodges. Well, the lodges were all booked. And this was just today. It was at lunch break. So I was like, okay, shit. Well, I guess we'll just do the camping thing. And we'll just suck it up and buy a tent. We'll have it for future use. Well, then my wife texts me this picture of an assembly sheet for a tent. And I'm like, all right. Whatever. But she told me she was looking up tents last day or two online to see what would be a good one to buy. Then she sends me a picture of an actual tent. Like it's a compact, like it folds up in a little backpack like type thing, like a little large backpack type thing for a tent. With all the quick release rods and everything else for it. And I'm like, well, what the F is that? And she's like, it's a tent. And I'm like, it's our tent. And I'm like, oh. No. We don't have a tent. And she texted back, I know we don't have a tent, but I found this in the garage, like right on a shelf, right literally where you would pass by and see it every single day. My motorcycle's in the garage. So literally every time we got on a motorcycle, we would see this tent. And I was like, well, that just doesn't make any sense. Now, I got a bunch of stuff from my dad when he passed away a few years ago. Tools and some other, like a stand-up, pop-up, not a tent, but like a canopy, a shade canopy. And I already had a shade canopy, but he had a larger one. So, that was kind of cool, but it's huge. And then, like I said, a bunch of tools and a bunch of miscellaneous stuff that a lot of it was garbage, and I either donated it or sold it. But not at all a tent. Not in any of his stuff was there a tent. And again, now my wife and I have never bought a tent. None of our boys have bought a tent. So when she did, she wanted to make sure that this thing was legit. So she pulled out the bag, she unfolded it in our driveway, looked at it to make sure it didn't have any holes in there. It was like brand new condition almost. All the parts and pieces were in there, and then she folded it back up and put it back in a bag. And then she started freaking out because she's like, this is the exact same tent that she's been looking at online to buy from, I think, Walmart or somewhere like that for the last couple of days. Like she kept going back and forth on some different models, and then this was like a 9-man tent. Folds up really tiny, but it's a fairly big, good, they call it a 9-person sleeper. Comfortably, we'll sleep 6 adults. So it's 9 with kids, right? So 2 adults and a bunch of kids, or 4 adults maybe and 4 kids type of scenario. Or if you have pets. And I was like, well, where the hell did that come from? She's like, I don't know. But she goes, this is what I've been looking at online for a while ago and everything else. And I said, well, here you go. I was agreeing with you on going camping and said the only thing that we really needed was a tent, and I really didn't want to spend the extra money to buy a damn tent for just one camping trip off. You know, she convinced me that we'd probably use it again. Now, I haven't even looked at tents whatsoever. I just figured, how expensive could a friggin' tent be? So, yeah, literally when I was clicking the purchase button online for the tickets to the event next weekend, not this weekend coming up, but next weekend, is right when she sent me that message that she had that instruction packet. So she obviously found it before I hit the OK button to purchase the tickets. But it was just, you know, we talk about this kinetic movement of thoughts into physical manifestation, and this is a great example of it. Now, she wasn't even looking for the tent, which is what the weird thing is. She actually went out there to look for air mattresses that we bought. We bought a couple twin, I think we have one queen and a couple twin air mattresses that we bought years ago. Been sitting deflated in the garage. She actually went out there to look for those, knowing we were going to have to buy a tent, and then stumbled across this tent. Now, by the same token of that, on Monday, she was scrambling around, which Monday was a holiday, it was Veterans Day. We were supposed to go on a ride. I had a flat tire, which sucked, but I had to get it repaired or replaced on the bike. But she was looking for this one necklace that we had bought for her when we were in Hawaii, when we got married for our honeymoon. I have an identical one, but mine's a thicker chain, and then it's got like a dog tag on it with a male symbol, and it's a dog tag with a cross, and then it's got like a little male symbol that dangles on it, charm. And then she's got one with a female symbol on it, and hers is a thinner line and a smaller dog tag. Well, she couldn't find hers. She remembers it, taking it up to Cave Creek. She took it off during Arizona Bike Week when I bought her another necklace, and she put that on. She put it in her bag, but she couldn't find this. She couldn't find this necklace anywhere. I don't know if she's even still found it yet. But you know, I wonder if in this holographic simulation reality, or whatever it is, if she had to pay the penance to receive a return. In other words, did she contribute back into the ether of particles of our universe, whichever one we're residing in, her old necklace, through a dematerialization process that then allowed the rematerialization, or not but the materialization of this camping tent. Now, this tent wasn't like brand new. It's not like it was in the bag that you use for porting it around, but it didn't have a box that it would have come in like if you bought it at Walmart, and it didn't have any special tags. Now, I haven't bought anything like that in a yard sale ever in this reality. Well, obviously in this reality I may have, because what we may have done at the end of the day is not actually cause something to materialize. What we probably did is she shifted us into an alternate state of reality in which we actually had purchased said tent at some point in our timeline history, which is where my lineup theory goes of more of multiple dimensions, multiple realities, and yet still being a holographic simulation universe, in the sense that it's a physical reality. You know, I truly believe this is a physical reality. It's a physical observing reality. I think that when we go through a state of what we consider to be materials, items disappearing, vanishing, dematerializing, we are jumping into an alternate reality. When they reappear, we have jumped into yet another reality. One similar to the one before it disappeared, whereas the object was in the exact same spot. I believe when the object disappears, it is one of two things. It has either never been purchased at all, it has moved into a new location, which it hasn't actually moved, it's just residing in a different location, at some point. And when I say we, I don't mean we as in the conscious, myself and Ruth Ann Schaefer. I believe the reality of whoever the Scott was and Ruth Ann was in this base reality that had relocated those items, moved those items, lost those items, never bought those items whatsoever in the timeline that we currently experience. That person, that consciousness, that whatever it is, NPC me maybe, running through a program of whatever variation of simulations it was. And then my conscious had jumped into this one. I think that's what's happened. You know, that's what happened originally back when CERN started smashing particles together, and all these D-Wave and other brand quantum computers creating all this entanglement into multiple dimensions, right? And I hear the nut job defaming kooks right now. Oh, it's just mismemory. You're just misremembering stuff. You're just misplacing stuff. You just don't remember that you just don't remember this. You just don't remember that. Misremembering the lyrics to a song is difficult enough. Misremembering the titles to a movie or how the scenes in a movie goes is tough enough. Both of those are doable scenarios. But typically, purchasing an item in your life, like a tent, would be a very, very memorable experience, very physical experience. You wouldn't easily forget that. Unless you did it when you were just shit-faced, almost blackout drunk. And if that's the case, it would probably still be in the original box. I'm just saying. I've felt this big universal push lately. And I'm going to call it a universal push because I don't know what else to call it. Of intentional obstructive thoughts. Not necessarily of my own, but case in point, my wife and I had a conversation. Here we go. I don't remember the specifics of it right at the moment because the conversation didn't mean anything to me. I mean, it was an offsite conversation. That was one of a million that my wife and I happened to be having about something, and I don't remember what it was. Then a couple days ago, she had brought up the conversation to me again. Or I had asked her the question about that same topic, and she said, we already talked about it, and it was this. And I said, what? Yes, we already talked about it. Now, did I think I slipstreamed realities and jumped into a different reality, and that she's no longer my partner? No. I just assumed that was a true false memory. That I don't remember having had that conversation. I'm super busy, bogged down with work. We've had a lot of shit going on in our personal lives, being busy, meeting new people, and all sorts of this whole smash of information coming into my brain, coming at me, like boom, 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 you know, overloading me, an overload of information being thrown at me. Trying to remember it all is daunting. And I have to pick and choose what to keep and what to shelve. And what I shelf, I may not remember. Now, when she started talking to me about that, we had already had this conversation. She went into very, very specific details on where we had the conversation. And the second she did that, it sparked the memory for me. So the item was sitting on a shelf, not completely falling off the backside of the shelf where I can't see it anymore behind a bookcase. It was there. And what she did was blew the dust off of it, which caused the memory to engage into my mind. It became fresh. I remembered at that time the whole conversation. And it was like, yes, okay, I remember exactly what it was. Now, why can't I speak to you guys as to what that full conversation was? Because, again, it was still a shelf topic conversation, and it still is even to this point. And ironically, it may be fully about the topic at hand of having gone up north to camp, like specific dates or things like that. And it might have even been this Two Broke for Sturgis rally. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. But at that time, and in those conversations, I had other things going on in my head, so it was fodder, right? It was just background noise. And I love you, wife. I love you dearly, Ruth Ann. But I'm sorry, I got so many things cooking and going on in my head between that and our friends and different groups that we belong to and different things we're doing and different things going on at work. Some things have to take a priority in echelon, and some things are getting shelved. Now the good avenue is you, and yes, I'm talking to you, wife, we're able to re-engage the connection of that memory, because for you, it was not a shelved thought. For you, it was a live streamed thought. And that's where I believe her, my wife and I, have a very deep connection, which is why I believe we are both traveling this path together. I believe that's why we are not different us's. I believe we are ourselves that have always been together from the original Sagittarius realm. And that CERN effed things up and caused us to jump across large chasms of reality variations. And I believe when they did that it affected our conscious on a subatomic level to where our particles now are moving without help. Now, I don't know that we, per se, can control the jumping, that we can control the manipulation, and I don't think ringing in the ears has anything to do with that. I don't get the ringing in the ears, my wife does. And it's not really ringing. Sometimes it's a tone, sometimes it's a ringing, it's a pitch, it's different things, different times, and it's got like a vibration to it when it's doing it. I know it's not tennyson or whatever they call that, the ear canal thing. It's none of those things. But she does get it. A lot of people say they get it, especially in the Mandela Effect community. Some people feel if you just ride out the storm, that you're then going through a jump transition, and if you let it go through its phase, then you will have jumped. I think that may be part of a tune fork type process in some of us, in some of our conscious. I think others of us are not necessarily even a higher level of awareness, but maybe just are slightly tuned, just a slight bit different, where we don't get the odd vibration, the odd rub against us when we're going through these transitions. I think we just shift, and whether that be quickly or slowly, I believe it's a quick shift. I don't believe you slowly transition into an alternate reality, one fading out and one phasing in. I think it's an instantaneous maneuver. Quantum entanglement theory, right? Superimposed in two positions, and our conscious awareness goes from here to here, wherever that may be. Now, some will say, well, Scott, if you say that that's what it is, how do you quantify for still being in an Orion arm, but just things around you being different? Why aren't you in a different Sagittarius arm altogether? Why aren't you in a different X altogether? Why aren't you in different things altogether? Well, I have a theory behind that too. Sagittarius arm, Orion arm, my deep belief is it's all bullshit, right? It, like the Bible, is created by man. So whoever of this world, whichever world we are in at the moment, deemed that we are within the Orion belt, deemed that we are within the Sagittarius belt, deemed that the universe is X big by X Y by X Z. I don't believe that we can send satellites up into the great depths of outer space. I don't believe that we can. I mean, I'm sure there's satellites. There's potentially satellites floating around our planet. That's a very likelihood. I believe that there's what they call a low Earth orbit, which has got pretty much no air into there, and it's so high in our atmosphere that it's really not survivable without equipment to be in. Now, maybe a space station exists, maybe it don't. I personally don't believe it does, but perhaps it does. I don't know. I've not been there, so I can't quantifiably say, yep, it is, or yep, it's not. I can tell you that the moon with the naked eye appears way closer than millions of miles away. The sun, obviously the same thing, and who cares about mass and size? Moon is smaller than our Earth, yet the Earth from the moon from the Earth seems huge, and yet for our astronauts and the photography and the videos, the Earth from the moon was tiny. How does that make any goddamn sense? I digress. That's a whole different conversation. No, I don't believe the world is flat. No, I don't believe it's round. I believe it is potentially all things at once, or some other variation therein. Who knows? Who knows what it really is? We can't get out far enough and far enough away from this to actually see what's going on with it. I truly believe that. I believe we haven't been to the moon. I believe we can't go back to the moon. I believe that what they're creating is a ride to have an experience, to defame and mute those of us in the intellectual community that are using their goddamn brains and are calling bullshit on NASA and the government. And yes, I believe it's conspiratorial in some sense. Now, getting back to Orion Belt or different things like that, why aren't we doing? Again, it's all a creation of whichever man is of this reality. Just like, the Statue of Liberty has been hit by a bomb. The bomb went off in a yard and sent debris and damaged the torch, which is why you can't physically go up in a torch. Supposedly ever. Though I personally have been up in the torch when I was a kid. So, it was a private tour that was set up for our high school for any kids who were brazen enough to want to go up in there. It was a special thing that they had done as part of America Sings back in the 80s. So, go pound sand, naysayers. Now, without CERN being active, I think the reason for the Orion connection, right? Even though that's everyone within whatever current reality we're in calling it that we're in that place. I think that there's enough similarities, but enough variations that we are able to jump, those of us who do, which is why we notice these changes, which is why we see some of these changes. Now, for some of us, we don't necessarily notice shit. This goes in line with the possibility of being able to connect with other realities via the internet through quantum entanglement computing. It's a strong possibility that that's a reality too. I mean, there's a possibility that all things are real. I mean, I could be completely wrong about space and everything else. We may have a space station which may be in contact with aliens, which so on and so on and so forth. Now, so here's the thing. If space, in essence of the way we're told it is real, and we have a Mars rover on Mars, and we have the capability to go to the moon, and we've actually gone to the moon and landed to the moon, then it would stand to reason that we are in direct communication with extraterrestrial intelligence. F off all you douchebags who are saying, well, there's no physical proof that the government has told us about. Well, you can go F yourself if you're that stupid. There's tons and tons of documents about UFO contact and extraterrestrial contact and blah, 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 blah. Well, the extraterrestrial contact via the government isn't released. Those are still privatized. FOIA documents have been rejected for release. They claim that there aren't any, so on and so forth. Whatever. Now there's this whole reintroduction and repush of the alien agenda of extraterrestrials being a real thing. That we've not necessarily made first contact, but that the flying objects that are all around, the UFOs and UAPs and things like that, are unidentifiable, or UFP, the unidentified flying phenomenon, or UAPs, unidentifiable aerial phenomenon, things like that, whatever, or unidentified flying objects, so on and so forth. It keeps changing. All these news articles are coming out, these TV shows. Now, is that reality, or is that a manifestation of conspiracy communities coming together and projecting this more and more and deeper and deeper. And partly to do with that could be us in the Mandela Effect community, like SMQAI, brother. I've been watching your videos, and again, I don't disagree with a lot of that stuff. Doesn't mean that any of that stuff even exists, even though your source is telling you they are real. Probably extra dimensional or interdimensional, I would say, more than anything else. But doesn't mean that it is real, and doesn't mean that it ain't real. Again, thinking of a holographic universe. So, I don't know. I don't believe that anything is really materializing or dematerializing in our life. I don't believe that we're actually losing time. I don't believe that I'm actually portal jumping through time and space and ending up into a different location, which I've told you in previous videos. My wife and I, driving down the road that I am late at night. We're driving. Looked at the clock, looked up, and all of a sudden I was 3 miles away from where we were, going a totally different direction. And I look back at the clock, and it's literally the same time. Like, it hasn't even a full minute, hasn't even cycled. Instant time jump, right? Ooh. No, it was a reality jump to where when the reality that I had actually jumped into from the reality we were at, both of us together, because it was only the two of us together. We're still driving in a car, but we were in a different location, still near our house. But for whatever reason, we're taking a different route to get there. Probably because in that reality, maybe we got hunkering for some late night food and we're trying to drive to a Burger King to go grab something to eat. I don't know, because that's the only thing that was in the direction we were going. The only thing that was there between where we were going and where we were kind of heading was our house would have been slightly behind us, south of us, and a Burger King would have been straight in front of us, a quarter mile. That's it. That's the only two connections to that. Time had not shifted, yet we had moved over 3 miles in less than a minute, in a flash of a second. I couldn't even been driving far enough to go 3 miles on a service road in under a minute. Not physically possible. And no, my digital clock in my car didn't freeze up, start throwing the wrong time up. So, again, theory is I didn't time portal. I actually shifted into an alternate reality, an alternate state of reality, an alternate existence of reality, different simulated reality, holographic reality, whatever you want to call it. So, anyhow, my thoughts of Thursday. So I just wanted to kind of talk about some of this stuff and get it out there. You know, as always, hey guys, give me your thoughts and your opinions. If any of this stuff, if you're noticing it. Again, it seems like to me and my wife that we've seen a very, very enhanced pace of this stuff, this phenomena occurring, and more frequently, weirder and weirder things like the tent seemingly manifesting from nowhere. More logical scenarios a couple of days ago. Whatever, my wife was looking at these tents going along, was very, very interested in doing it, I think that was a great idea. So what happened? I finally got on board with paying for the damn tickets today for those things, and we had shifted because I had set my mind this morning before I went to work that I was going to go ahead and go online and buy those tickets. She's been bugging me for a few days to do it because I told her to bug me for a few days to do it. And we jumped realities into one where we had already purchased the ticket, which was nestled snuggled in my garage. My guess is that's what happened. My guess is that's what always happens when things dematerialize and rematerialize. It is not, in fact, items mysteriously disassociating and reassociating in our experience. It is, in fact, us jumping into a altered reality where those objects are not in play where we left them, or new items are in play from the self in that reality having purchased them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, share, as always. And until the next video, I have been your host, Scott Schaefer. This channel is A Theory of Nothing, and we will talk to you soon.